I would steal vegetables from my mom's garden and sell them to our neighbors for a quarter. I was on the street corner doing lemonade stands, right? So kitchen, kids, business has always been my thing. I could do something I'm passionate about, that I love, that is fulfilling. And I think I can make money doing it. Me, it's not yet a franchise, not even yet a business. I have to figure this out. But my advice I give to all of our franchisees is to be gritty, be scrappy.
Love it.
What it's going to take to make this work, right? The model's here, but it has to be run. And I think grittiness and scrappiness is just that tenacity and the hard work to carry it through and to do what it is you set out to do.
Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast, where you can escape the corporate trap through franchise ownership. Here's your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, the Franchise Guide.
Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, your franchise guide, the show where we help corporate executives experience time and financial freedom. Thanks for joining us today. Really excited for our show today. But before we get into the show, wanted to thank you for joining and let us know if you have any questions. A few of the viewers were asking for more guests, more founders of franchise companies, and we have a very exciting show for you today. Today we have Jessi Brelsford from Taste Buds Kitchen. So Jessi, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Giuseppe. I'm glad to be here, and happy to talk to you today. Thanks for having me.
And I got the last name. I said it's a tongue twister.
Tom, you got it.
That's the hardest part for me. It's all downhill from here. Now I was stressing because I know my name is could be difficult to pronounce. So I appreciate it. We've had a lot of we poll. Ask a lot of questions to our viewers, and we always ask, hey, what do you want to learn more about? Whether it be brands, do you want to learn more about accounting? We've had accountants on and franchise attorneys and things like that. So wanted to been meaning to schedule this for a while. So, but before we dive into Taste Buds, if you can give the audience a little bit of background, who Jessi is, where you started, because we have some similar backgrounds.
Yeah, we do. Okay, yeah, I'm happy to. So Jessi Brelsford, you nailed the name, founder and CEO of Taste Buds Kitchen. It will be 18 years old in September. So I've been doing this for a long time, but kind of rewind. I'm from Maryland. I'll go to the very beginning. I'm one of 23 first cousins. I was always the Pied Piper of the group. I was always a hustler, always, business. And I would steal vegetables from my mom's garden and sell them to our neighbors for a quarter. I was on the street corner doing lemonade stands, right? So kitchen, kids, business has always been my thing. I grew up, went to Harvard, majored in economics. I was a Division I swimmer. I love competition. And that kind of led me to our common background, which was Wall Street. I moved to Wall Street 2003. Moved to New York City, 2003. I had never been there only one time before. So New York newbie, and got a job at Bear Stearns and decided to take it. So I liked it. I liked what I did. I did it for 7 years, and kind of a year before I left is when the idea for Taste Buds Kitchen was born. I was sitting at my desk one day. I was missing my 23 first cousins. At the time, I had 3 great grandparents alive. I was with people who were between the ages of 20 and 50, wearing a suit every day, doing fairly interesting work, but not as much creativity and kind of ingenuity as I was looking for. So I decided to teach kids to bake as a hobby, calling it Cupcake Kids. Never thought it would be a business, never thought it would be a franchise. I posted it on this free website to advertise classes. It sold out. I led a very cute cookie decorating class, and the next thing I did was a cupcake decorating class. And that's really where the idea started. Again, still in my mind, this was just a passion project, a hobby I'm doing on the weekends. And pretty much one weekend a month. I was working, 12 plus hour days in Wall Street at the time, didn't have a lot of extra time. So fast forward to Wall Street crumbling, recession starting. I'm kind of in the heart of it at Bear Stearns. And my idea is, okay, I could do this. I'm going to make this a business. Again, didn't know about franchising, hadn't even entered my thought, but I went from passion project to I can make this my business. So I did leave. I raised my hand to be laid off when JP Morgan was buying Bear Stearns. Gave me severance, gave me insurance for a few months. And so that was the funds I needed to start Taste Buds Kitchen. So I knew at that point, it wasn't just going to be kids. It was going to be all ages, 2 to 99. It wasn't just going to be sweets. It would be all kinds of food. So for those who don't know, Taste Buds Kitchen, we are culinary entertainment. So it's a 2,000 square foot beautiful kitchen event space where you walk in and you'll cook with us. You book in advance. So you'll either register for a public class, you'll come do handmade pasta, sushi and dumplings. Or for kids, we're doing summer camps, we're doing birthday parties, after school classes, caregiver me weekend classes. And on the adult side of things, corporate events, adult classes, birthday parties. Adult events are generally all BYOB, so bring your own beer or wine. It's a really fun concept. We don't sell food, we don't cater food, but you come in, we have fun cooking. So taking us back now to 2008, left Wall Street, started it full time. We didn't rent a space. I used to use restaurants. So we had an Upper East Side location, Upper West Side, Tribeca, Brooklyn, would work with restaurants who weren't open for lunch. I would rent the space to put on these classes and events. And then kind of one of my team members actually suggested, hey, we need a space. We're carrying this KitchenAid stand mixers on the subway. This is not sustainable, which I agree. So I'm a dog with a bone. I get an idea. I have to do it. So we signed a lease in Chelsea, 109 West 27th in 2010. And we are still there today. So 15 years later. And that's really where the model started. I've kind of figured out how I wanted to do it, the different revenue streams, and franchising came much later, but I'm sure we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, no, that is,
and how this happened.
That is very interesting. And we must have crossed paths in the city, because I had left January of 2007. So
yeah, for sure.
So we were probably
in the same corner, because I was right at 383 Madison was the Vera Stearns building, and I was there from 2003 to June of 2008 was my last day.
So. Oh wow, that is crazy. Yeah, we hear a lot of people that just you can make some good money, but it definitely isn't for everyone. And I had some great takeaways, but I'm curious, and I talk about it, so no one wants to hear from me anymore. We want to hear some fresh stories. So what did you get out of working for Wall Street, and how did that help you launch? Obviously you had this idea, but what did you get from Wall Street? Any takeaways in launching Taste Buds?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it taught me how to have a job. Really, in the summers of college, I was coaching the swim team. I was teaching swimming lessons. I was a Division I swimmer, so my life was based around swimming in school. So it was really my first largely professional experience. I loved it. I love numbers. I love figuring out how things work. I love the people I worked with. I got a lot of joy out of it, even though it was hard. It was very hard, outside of my comfort zone, what I was doing. But I think looking back, I'm still friends with my early bosses, thinking back to when I was 22, right out of college, was a really great group of people. And I think it gave me confidence. I can do this. I can figure this out, right? I've been an employee. I've worked for someone. I generally get how this all works and puts it together in kind of corporate America. And it does pay well, right? I remember being like, oh, I could just go to Nordstrom's.com and buy jeans. And when you're a college kid, you can't do that. So life starts to get a little bit easier, right? You have, you're paying rent in New York City and all those things. And it was a big leap to say, okay, all that goes away when I go out on my own. The stability, the structure, and the framework, but this could work, right? And this could change my life. I could do something I'm passionate about, that I love, that is fulfilling. And I think I can make money doing it. Me, it's not yet a franchise, not even yet a business. I have to figure this out. I was 26. I was not married. I did not own a home. So it was the time to do it. My dad was definitely the voice in my ear, are you sure? You've kind of made it from my perspective, right? You're off my payroll.
We had the same parents, I think.
You're living on your own, right? Are you sure? And I kind of told him my whys, and he's like, well, then do it, right? Yeah. If not, when, if not now, right? So he was very supportive in the end, but there was definitely that are you sure moment. But I had a great experience. And I think that was a really helpful background that did give me structure, right? And did give me experience. And I did wear a suit every day for 7 years. And now I wear jeans every day, right, at my best. So I appreciate the wardrobe change as well, but gave me good background, solid in my numbers, right? And that's how I drive Taste Buds Kitchen forward. I love food, the kitchen, and fun, but I'm business first. I'm numbers first. It has to make sense. I'm KPI driven. So I'm able to take that into a very fun industry where, yes, kids are making cupcakes.
It is fun, right? It's fun. It's lively. It's not a grind. I really love everything from the branding to just the kids having a good time. Something you're looking forward to. It's exactly. You don't look forward necessarily. I'm not going to say in every case going to the doctor, but to see a real travel agent where we're going on vacation. There's a destination there. So no, that's awesome. And when I said we had the same parents, my parents said the same thing. You're making good money. You're going to start all over to launch a business. Do you really want to do that? And then that gets in your head like, wait, maybe I do have it. Maybe I should just put the noise aside, because I personally would say I didn't have the best experience, just maybe because maybe not necessarily the company, but maybe the division I was in. So, but yes, it's hard to leave that kind of money. My aha moment was the long commute. I was a commuter, which did not help the situation, but seeing people telling me I've been on this bus 20 years and it was an hour commute. Now we're at 2.5 hours. And I'm like, it just, they did not have some great stories to tell me. And I just pictured myself kind of in their position. And I'm like, I don't want to be this happy person sitting on the bus complaining. So that was my aha moment. And I wish I can go back and hug them and thank them for those stories, but never even got their names because they would fall asleep midway conversation at 5 a.m. So,
yeah,
so that's
it's
funny.
it's a whole other thing on top of the job for sure.
It absolutely is. And same thing. You went from a suit to jeans. I think I have Adidas shorts on now, but Amber only captures here up, so we're good. So no, that is an interesting journey, and I always like to ask those questions because everyone comes from different backgrounds. And with Taste Buds, my understanding is every franchisor, right? Every franchise company has what they kind of see as their franchise avatar, right? Who does well in their business, and sometimes it changes, especially in the intro stages where obviously you're well past that. So, has the avatar changed at all, and who are you looking for now as an ideal fit for the brand?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I think we are 39 locations, 14 open. We'll open 4 more this year. So you are right in that it has changed over time. When we first franchised, I just wanted to test that the franchise model would work. When I first decided to franchise, by this point, I met my husband, got married. I was looking at expansion options. Did I want to open a second location in New York City? And ultimately, I got excited to research franchising because people had asked, would you franchise this concept? Can you teach me how to do it? So when I looked into it, and, you have the McDonald's in your mind, but you kind of realize, well, there's a lot more to franchising. And I got excited to be a boutique business in the space and to find like-minded individuals, like smart, hardworking, engaged owners around the country, and help them literally do something they didn't ever imagine was a career, right? Or a job or something they could make money at. So initially when we opened for franchise locations, we opened 1 or 2 a year, and our owners were incredibly passionate and found us on Google. We didn't advertise. We didn't put the concept out there. And at that point, we were just testing, does this work on the East Coast, the West Coast, right? Midwest, figuring out pricing tiers, everything about the model. And then as we continue, they're still with us today. They're amazing. We just had our oldest franchise renew, which is really exciting. Our second 10-year term. Yes, this is a big milestone. Fabulous owner. She now owns 2 locations. And I think the avatar that we've come to form, and really our sweet spot, and it's good news for people listening, right? You don't need a culinary background. You don't prefer it. And there's a lot of different career backgrounds that will work great. What we really look for first and foremost is engaged owners. Right. And this isn't in terms of number of hours in a week. It's like, do you want to, be passionate about this. Do you want to be engaged and drive this business forward, right? So engagement is super important. Are you in a good market? Right. So if you're interested in this, you'll talk to Giuseppe. And if you're not in a good market, you won't even make it past territory check, right? Because we've mapped the country. We have this really great software system where they took our sales from the past 12 months, mapped who our buyer is. We use Experian credit card data to know of the 70 purchasers who purchase Taste Buds Kitchen, our primary, secondary, tertiary purchasers. And we've mapped where we think we can have really viable locations across the country.
Oh, wow. That's very interesting. Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah.
We think we can have 500. Our initial focus is 200 in the next 5 years. And ideally to do that with 75 franchise owners, we're looking for people who want to be empire builders, right? Who want to open 1, 2, 3 locations and kind of have their own mini TBK epicenter for taking advantage of scale and things like that. But what that's gotten us to is we want engaged owners who want to manage the business and who want to manage the team. We want good business acumen, a strong focus on the customer experience, and someone who wants to get out and about and be part of their community, because that is a lot of our local marketing effort. And lastly, someone who's going to follow the system, right? Be committed to your own success. We're going to give you a business in a box, but no business is that easy, right? But we're going to train you how to do this. how to make it work, and someone that's going to come in and optimize on the model and execute flawlessly is what we're trying to do. And really my number one responsibility, I feel like, is to grow in a way that we're only awarding franchises to people that meet that profile, right? It kind of fit into the TBK family, share that mindset, and are excited to, make their own TBK empire in their part of the country.
I love that. And 100% right. I mean, this is a long-term commitment. I'm assuming you said 10 years. So 10 years, and I consider it a marriage, and you need the right fit. There's no reason in saying, it's a fit for everyone that has the investment. That's not going to work. You really need to have an expectation of what to expect. You have that franchise avatar. And I think people forget that, they feel, well, I'll just invest in this franchise. Well, the match has to be there, and you need to be awarded the franchise. But ultimately, if the fit's not there, it's going to be a struggle.
You won't enjoy it. We won't enjoy it. Your guests will feel it, but thankfully we don't suffer from that. Nearly every candidate that comes my way is so incredibly passionate before I even talk to them for the first time on the executive call, which is great. So yeah, this sparks a little joy inside you don't know that you had, then that's a good sign. I think often I hear, and we mentioned this before we started recording, is a lot of people come in saying, I'd like to open a franchise. I'd like to be a franchise owner, but I don't want food.
Right.
They end up with Taste Buds Kitchen, right?
Yes.
But we're not food in the traditional sense. We're cooking classes and parties, but we're not selling food. We don't cater food. Think of it like paint and sip, but with food as our medium, right? So it's very interesting. As we've opened, we're not regulated like a restaurant is. We don't use gas. We use electric, induction, environmentally friendly, and that really helps on the time to open, as well as different regulations that may apply in your different area. We're about 12 months from signing of the franchise agreement to opening, which is a shorter, definitely lead time than a lot of brick and mortars.
I love that. Yeah, that's really important, because to your point, don't want food because they think of a lot of turnover, lots of employees.
Right, hours, little margins, but our hours are much better, right? People don't want to come to cooking classes after 9 p.m. and that's late in most parts of the country, right? So definitely good hours, especially when schools are out. And we're very economical about our food costs because we're selling the experience. And so we're really cognizant of what goes into the events, into our recipes, making it fun. We teaching tips and tricks, lots of, different things for different people that they can hold on to in the classes and walk away with something fun, feeling like they learned something new, smiled, laughed along the way. Is the name of the game.
It's an experience. It's something that, and I'm sure there's multiple experiences and different themes. So from a staff standpoint, what are you looking at as far as staff? What does that look like for someone that's running a single location?
Definitely. So when you open, your big key person will be your general manager. We call them a general manager. Don't think of it like a general manager of a restaurant, right? So it's like your lead instructor. This person will generally be full-time. They will teach most of your classes. They will shop for you. They will keep the kitchen clean. They will help you to hire your additional, maybe one more part-time instructor and a small team of assistants to help with the classes and dishes and keep things going during it. So I'd say most people start in the 5 employee range, one that key full-time, the rest very part-time. Mm-hmm. And then you will grow from there in the, 1, 2, 3 years that follow. I own the New York City kitchen. We're 2 kitchens in one facility. And I think we're probably the high end. We have in the high teens in terms of number of employees, but we are managing 2 kitchens. And summer camp, when it happens, you will hire a separate team just for summer camp. Gotcha. People who, teachers who are off for the summer, college kids, or other people home who could help put on an 8, 10, 12-week program. Kids love summer camp. We love summer camp, but they kind of bring in a crew just for that. But it's a nice small team. You're going to empower them, develop them, grow them, be out about meeting your community. And that's how it works.
Yeah. And you had mentioned earlier, having to, really focus and knowing the numbers. And I don't know if you're a fan of Marcus Lemonis.
Love him. He came to Taste Buds.
And actually, that was my, I don't know what you can share, but was it The Fixer?
So The Prophet.
Oh, back when it was The Prophet, the previous show. Okay.
Yes, so he did an episode of The Prophet. We were not the team.
Okay.
So we were it was a cheese company, I think. So it was he was having a business meeting and he needed a place to host it, and they wanted to do cooking classes.
Really? Okay.
Well, the whole film production crew came in and they did an episode for the profit a little part of one episode,
right?
At Taste Buds Kitchen. But yeah,
that's funny.
Mark Kitchen.
I didn't even know that. I'm literally watching this show, and someone said to him, and it stuck in my head, I'm not a numbers person. And he flipped that and he's like, if you're a business owner, you are a numbers person.
For sure. I love Marcus.
If you don't know the numbers. And they were just, I guess they have I guess they've been focusing on New Jersey based companies for the Fixer, which is the new,
I've got to look that up. No, I would love that.
Yeah. So, I'm sure they're recorded for the first season, but I thought that was, been waiting a long time for the show to come back.
100%. I agree with that.
And Marcus, if you ever want to join, we'll talk numbers all day long. If you're listening to the show today, I want to switch gears a little bit because I get this question. So, we work with candidates across the U.S. and Canada, and someone had made the comment to me. I'm not going to name brand or the person. I keep everything confidential, but they came back and said, you know what? If the brand is so strong and doing so well, why franchise? Why not just have corporate locations? So we talked about the differences from owning those corporate locations, the differences, basically the different ways of expanding from licensing to franchising. If you're okay sharing, would you mind sharing why you chose the path of franchising? Because I think that'll be super helpful in telling that story.
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of dates back to about 2013 when I first started thinking about franchising, and I had this list, like we said, and it was really, I'm an opportunist, right? I love business. I love the hustle. I love figuring things out. I'm passionate about Taste Buds Kitchen. And so I keep trying to make the next right step. But I was at a point in my career and journey where I'd figured out the revenue streams. I figured out how to run this business. I'd done the hard and scrappy. And I was like, okay, what's next? So one option was corporate expansion, either in New York City or, beyond. And the other option in the back of my head was, hey, I have this spreadsheet of 120 people who have reached out and asked me, either they've been to the kitchen or they emailed and they read about us in press or otherwise, would I teach them how to open a Taste Buds Kitchen? And I was like, well, that sounds like franchising. What is this? Right. So I literally read Franchising for Dummies. I went out on this epic search. I always like to learn. Right. So I'm just soaking up all the information I can to figure out. And I ultimately got excited. I didn't even think about licensing. I knew that was not for me. Right. I want to do it the TBK way, whether that's me doing it myself or whether that's doing it franchising. And I ultimately got excited about the growth path of partnering with like-minded people all across the country to bring this to life. And I knew I myself could not do that in 10 years. I couldn't have, right? I could not have this many locations. I didn't have the capital for it. I didn't have the know-how to do the corporate expansion. Nor was it my sweet spot. I really got excited about franchising as a way to let's meet people all over who are smart, passionate, business-driven, like the kitchen, like kids' food, right? Want to be around this, value this in their own homes, have the capital to do it in great markets, and let's partner together to give them the business model and have them execute on it. So really it was just research and getting excited about that. And then again, dog with the bone, I have an idea and I want to be the absolute best at it that I can be. Right. I want to figure it out. Tell everyone. I did not set out to be a franchisor. It was not in my 10-year-old dream.
It happened, right? It just kind of worked its way in.
It really did. And now, I'm 12 years in, trying to be the best franchisor that I can be. We learn every year, trying to keep up our HQ team and grow ahead of the system. And I take it seriously when we have our franchise owners who are investing a large amount of money, right? A lot of their savings to meet their dreams. And that's important to me to do the best we can for, every single person in the system. And ultimately that's how I kind of stumbled upon it, I would say, and have tried to be an avid learner since and learn from those that have gone before us. And to be the best we can be in our space.
That's it. And plenty of people have gone the route. They've done well. And that's kind of the point I wanted to drive home is that there's no, one size fits all. There's no right or wrong, which is better, which isn't. It depends on how you want to expand. It depends on what you're looking to do. It depends also on the brand itself. Some of the brands geographically don't work in certain areas due to climates, and other variables. So, or how spaced out the, is it highly populated? Is it that do you have that density like you have in New York City?
Right.
Or, is it just kind of spread out? So there's a lot of things to factor in, and there's no right or wrong. Kind of figure out and work with someone to figure out how you're looking to expand, get educated on the different options to see kind of which is the best fit for you. When this is actually something I found interesting, and I'd be curious on your thoughts. So I don't remember the podcast, but the important part here is that they were interviewing the IFA president, current president, and the question that came up, they did a poll: why people does the general public have interest in franchise ownership?
Right.
So they did a major poll, and this is interesting to me, very interesting in this day and age. 75% of people came back and said, yes, I have explored or have an interest in franchise ownership. 75%. That's 3/4 of the people.
Yeah, that's bigger than I would expect. That's amazing.
And I couldn't tell you all the details and if that was across the country, but it sounded like a national poll. In that number, this is the interesting part. So of the people, that group of 75% that said, yes, we are interested, 75% of them, another 3/4 came back and said, why didn't you start? And there were plenty of reasons, but the most common 75% of the reasons were we didn't know where to start. And they dropped it. What advice would you have to someone who is, and most, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, most of our listeners and viewers are corporate executives, are military veterans. We find out is actually a pretty large percentage here that are listening in. What advice would you give to someone as to where to start? Because that was actually concerning to me, at least, because in this day and age with podcasts and the internet and technology, free information, you would not think that would be the number one reason. So I wanted to get your feedback and your advice.
Yeah, well, it's a great question. And that's a great stat. I love knowing that because franchising is a powerful model. Like now, it can work very well if the pieces are all aligned. So I'm really thankful for it as a business model and a concept. And I think for all those listening, 75% of you are interested, probably more because you're on this podcast, right? So what is the next step? Absolutely listen along. And I think franchising is not for everyone, right? Like you said, you have to want to come in, follow a model, be profitable, right? And have a nice family business that you can then scale and become empire builders and all of the like. But I think that's what I see as my important is make sure we're rewarding the right candidates. But going back to your question for this, talk to you. Talk to Giuseppe. Google, research, right? Learn about franchising and find a brand. I think someone like Giuseppe can tell you, right? You come to him like, hey, I'm interested in opening a business. What do I do? He's going to say, okay, what are you interested in? How much money do you have to spend? Where do you live, right? And help you navigate to figure out, I should look at these 3 brands or these 5 brands. Maybe you love one, maybe you love none, and you go back and say, hey, my investment's actually higher. I want to look at bigger businesses. I want to look at brick and mortar, non-brick and mortar. I think he is so well set up and individuals like him to help you, right? To help you navigate what is that next step. When you want to buy a house, you go to a broker, right? You say, hey, I want to do this. So I think that is a really good avenue to figure out what is the right one for you. I would say to anyone, take the next right step, right? Just keep moving. Figure out what it is you want to do with your life. I can say from experience, it is hard to leave a good job. It's hard to leave corporate America and the stability, but like, oh my gosh, it's so much better on the other side. Like quality of life and flexibility. I can take my kids to school every morning and you can fit in a kickboxing class at noon every day. Whatever is your thing, right? Married, not married, kids, not married, young, old. There is a lot of life to be lived outside of corporate America if it's for you.
Right.
But you may find, hey, it's not for you too. And all that's part of the journey and the discovery that I think we're all on. But I would say, take the next right step, right? Kind of learn more, figure out if you're that 75% of the population, you don't want to leave that stone unturned and be like, hey, I always wanted to learn more, but I never, took the initiative to actually learn more about it. So I would say reach out and see if then franchising could be a good fit. And then at least you'll know. You will not be the 75% of the 70% that never acted on it.
I want to lower that stat. My goal is to squash that stat, and not squash it, but lower that number, because that is crazy. And I appreciate the those words, and we're always happy to help. But I would also add, why the heck do you even want a business? Hating a job is not a good reason necessarily for to be a business owner, which is called business ownership. but you should educate yourself and understand, like, it is absolutely amazing. I became a soccer coach and I have not missed a soccer game. And that started at age 4. My son's is actually going to be 18 in November.
That's amazing.
So,
Right?
so that's success. People say, well, what success is measured. Well, it's hard to measure. Everything isn't numbers, right? There's quality of life and things like that. So everyone's why and everyone's reason is it's not just about money. It's flexibility, as you mentioned, being able to travel and do the things you want and not have to be at your desk and report to a boss. So really figuring it out. And then I'm going to repeat myself, know your numbers. You need money to invest in any business. So make sure that you have your finances. So if you decide to leave the job that either you like or dislike, who's paying your rent, your mortgage, your student loans, and buying food, have that buffer, have those savings aside. But, you owe it to yourself to, if you don't want to speak with me, speak with another franchise owner, talk to them.
Exactly. Get knowledge. I totally agree with that. And I think that's a good thing on numbers to mention too, is like, you don't have to have it all figured out right now.
Right.
First interested, like, we'll help you with funding. You probably have funding recommendations. There are many ways to fund a business, right? So misnomer, you don't have to have all the cash on hand, although some people do, right? But there are funding options for well-qualified candidates. So don't let, again, that be a deterrent. Oh, I don't know how I'll fund it, so I'm not going to get started, right? If you think that you have the means to make this happen, people like Giuseppe can help you figure this out, right? What are the different pieces I need? How does this work? How long does it take? Do I still work while I'm starting it?
Right.
The answer is yes, right? Generally, it takes us 12 months. So people are keeping their job throughout construction and site selection, and some even beyond. So
good point.
Every brand is different and what's expected of the owner, the capital needed. So these are all things that you can talk through and figuring out, hey, would this be good for me and my family?
Yeah, lay it all out. And I could tell you from experience, I had someone say to me, well, I only have 10,000. No, I forget what the number was. It was 30 or 40,000 in savings. And then we dug a little bit deeper and they had money in retirement from an old job. And they're like, well, I didn't, you can't use retirement to purchase a franchise. And I said, actually, you can. There's an actual process. So sometimes don't, I always say, don't assume, have the conversation and figure out, because just because you have access doesn't mean you're comfortable with it or if it's a good fit, but it's good to at least have those options so you can decide with whoever is going to be involved in that business. And I jokingly say that the best piece of advice I can give to anyone listening is let everyone know why you're doing this. Let the family know. Don't buy if you're married, don't buy a franchise and don't, not tell the spouse until after the fact. Have all parties engage. If you have kids, our kids were, we found out my wife was pregnant 3 days after buying my first franchise. So
of course, right?
That was our motivation. But if you have little kids, or just in general, anyone living in the house, let them know this is what we're doing. It's going to be a busy time and maybe a lean time that first year in getting the business up and running, but not to cause any kind of friction. Let everyone know why you're doing this, and maybe incorporate them, maybe involve them into the business in a role. We had someone right now looking at a brand, and the kids want to get involved at some capacity, whether it be marketing or making the frozen yogurt or the donuts, because we're looking at a few different concepts. So you can get them involved, see what that looks like, and paint a couple different pictures, because they may not want to be involved, but it's good to at least present it in that way. It's definitely interesting. And those stats, we'll get the next time we speak, we're going to get those stats lowered.
Lowered. Yeah. I love what you just said. And I would reiterate that we do that. First time I talked to every candidate and interested in learning more about Taste Buds, the executive call, one of the first questions I ask them is, what does your family feel about this? Right. Hopefully we have a lot of husband and wife teams. So normally it's both of them on, which I love. If it's not both of them on, I'm like, what does everyone else think? This is not a one person decision. It takes a family, it takes a village, and it's a really good spot check, right? What are the people closest to you, whether they are friends or family? How do they feel about this for you? Can they see you doing this? Do they have support? Do they want to be involved? We have, people have had babies while owning Taste Buds Kitchens. They have high schoolers. They have kids in college. We have grandparents, right? So we have the whole gamut. And their families are largely involved, whether their kids are, learning the hustle, doing dishes in the back, or their little kids are coming to camp and they're having their birthdays at Taste Buds, or it's like their grandkids and their grown kids are working with them. So specifically at Taste Buds Kitchen, but in general, it's definitely, some people see it as legacy business. Some people just really want to get their kids involved, show them the value of hard work, show them that you can do something different, you can follow your dreams. So Yeah, I love the family aspect of franchising. It's changed my life, really. I mean, my husband and I, we moved to Maryland. We work harder than you can imagine, but it doesn't feel like work to me. I love it. I really do enjoy it. I like what we're building and feel really proud of the company we built. We have 11 people at HQ, which is a dream. So we're really trying to grow ahead of the demand and make sure we have the infrastructure to sustain. And that's part of building a good culture and, a good organization for us. But my sister has worked with us in the past. Like my dad helped drive up cabinets when we were first opening the kitchen. It is a family business.
Right.
My great grandmother bought our first oven.
Oh, wow.
She really wrote me a check, and Anna, we still have it. But yeah, it's very cool part of life if your family can be involved in what you're doing each and every day.
I like to hear that because we're not on those calls. So it's good to know that these questions are being brought up because they're important. Sometimes we kind of glance over, everyone's fine with it, but it's good to have those.
Yeah, I'm like, no. I need to rewind to that. Who was fine with this? The key players, right? Especially if you're husband, wife, or partner, any kind of team, are both players on the same page about this.
Agree.
Right?
100%.
Very important.
Yep. You got to be not. Yeah, they're on the same page. No.
I gotta see this. I gotta hear it from their voice that they're good with this.
Prove it. I don't want just an email. I want to see the person. I want to see their face. I want to, because sometimes concerns will come up or questions will come up, and you want to make sure everyone is going to be okay with it. Everyone's comfortable with it, and I think that goes a long way. So that's I preach that all the time. I don't know. I hope everyone follows that advice, but I think that's crucial in my opinion. What would you say? So there's a lot of listeners out there. What's the best piece of advice? And maybe it's something we already talked about that you have received that you'd like to share, because that's a big part of this too. Is kind of we talked about where to start. We talked about making sure everyone's on board, but and again, it could be reiterated. But what is the best piece of business advice that you have received throughout your entire career?
Well, that's a great question. I've had so many mentors and so many people generously lend their skills and time and efforts. I don't know if it's business advice as much as role models, which I've then tried to emulate, would be like in business. My grandfather and my dad have been great role models in how this works. Both had corporate jobs. They would do side businesses on top of it, never franchising, but always in the hustle, always trying to figure it out. And I think for my grandfather, he was good with the numbers. He would do math in his head, right? We would just do problems to each other all the time. But he was a fun leader, and he was someone that people liked to be with, and he made the work fun. He was laughing and part of it and serious at the same time. But I feel like that's really what I've tried to take from seeing how he did it. And he just passed away in March. It was a very influential figure in my life for a long time. And my dad is all about process and numbers and like making sure that this works and, being the spot check. And I think both of those things, while not advice, just learning from those, people in my family is very important to me, has really been helpful. And that's what I try to do. I mean, my advice I give to all of our franchisees is to be gritty, be scrappy.
Love it.
What it's going to take to make this work, right? The model's here, but it has to be run. And I think grittiness and scrappiness is just that tenacity and the hard work to carry it through and to do what it is you set out to do. It's not going to be easy, right? Do not expect franchising or anything to write a check and pay for it and have things fall into line. That is just not life. But I see no as like a soon to be yes. I keep asking until it does become a yes. And having that, I think, grit and scrappiness in anything you do is important.
I couldn't say it any better. And you're the second person recently I talked about grit. There's actually a TED Talk.
Really?
I have to share with you. I cannot remember who did the talk, but someone had just talked about it, and I'll definitely share that with you after the show.
Good.
I wrote in the show notes. But grit was like the best word. If there was one word, if someone said come back and give us advice, or one word that is kind of the word that stands out to be successful, and grit, that really nailed it. That kind of just, you could talk about determination, you can talk about, patience, persistence, but grit was the one that really stood out. So I'm glad.
Yes.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was pretty cool. Fun fact. You remember what you put in the forum?
I do not, but I'm 6'1", so that's always my fun fact.
I was going to give you I'm 5'8" and on a good day, 5'7" maybe today. So
And it's so funny because our franchise owners, anyone, I mean, my friends obviously see and know me, but franchise owner, a lot of it is, like this screen share format.
And the same height. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. And my husband's 6'5".
Oh, wow.
My brother-in-law 6'8". Like we have an enormous family.
Okay.
So I'm just very tall is my fun fact. And he would not know that until we met in person.
So really high ceilings at Taste Buds? Are we?
Yeah, we do a lot. That's so funny you say that because sometimes we'll put in, the drop ceiling, but we prefer the big open ones for obvious reasons. But that's what we say about our tables. They work for 2-year-olds and for our 6-month founder, right? So our tables adjust whether your 2-year-olds are cooking with or corporate date nights. Taste Buds Kitchen works for everyone.
I gotta, if you haven't, well, you know where I live now, so I'm curious. We have to find a location because I've been meaning to visit if there's one nearby and just really get the
we have 4 development in New Jersey. Okay. So that's very exciting. We have obviously 1 open in New York City. If you're in New York City, definitely go visit Taste Buds Kitchen. And we have 5 in development on Long Island. So a lot in this general area and 1 coming in Connecticut. So still a lot of availability in that kind of general New York City metro area and kitchens across the country. So anyone listening wants to just experience what we offer, you can go to tastebudskitchen.com. Find your local kitchen and find out their upcoming schedule.
And that was my next question. Where everyone can find you, learn a little bit more about the brand, directly to the website. Got some information there, overview, where you're open. I'm very excited to go to a grand opening and check one out myself. Anything we didn't talk about, anything that you'd like to. We talked about best piece of advice. Anything that maybe we didn't mention for everyone listening in, and maybe we covered it all, but I like to.
Yeah, no, I think the only thing I would add, and I think we have touched on it, but what to me is so special about Taste Buds Kitchen, and I'm sure other brands, is like you can be successful doing something you're passionate about, and that's like my PSA, FYI to people I talk with who are maybe like, oh, well, I'm making good money, but it's a bore. Or like, I love what I do and I'm barely scraping by, right? Like we want there to be a happy medium where you can be very passionate about it, but the numbers and cents can make sense. And it's just a really fun business to run. So whether it's this or something else for you, right? This isn't going to be for everyone. I think that passion and profits, that's the purpose of our summit. We have an annual summit where all of our franchise owners come to Maryland. It's in September, starts the end of the month. And our theme is passion, process, and profit. So like all of those things can and should collide, and you should search and really try to find that for you, whether it's franchising or not, corporate, whatever it is, but those things should be able to align. And that I think is a really good sign, like you said, of you've made it, or, quality of life or what's important to you, that you can hopefully, no one can have it all, but those 3 things can align.
I like that because, and actually that's a very, very important point that we didn't talk about was the passion piece. And sometimes it's the brand itself that provide, you could be passionate about the offering. In some cases, there are some maybe not so sexy brands that maybe the passion piece comes from that vehicle, and that vehicle is so turnkey that you're home more for the kids.
Absolutely.
Maybe not passionate about the widget, as I call the product or service,
sure.
But what brand itself, what brand actually can I be passionate about and have fun with the kids, teach them something new, work with the community and things like that. That's a very good point because sometimes the brand itself is not what the franchisee is passionate about. It's the outcome from that vehicle.
Yeah, it's real life. Yeah, for sure.
But that's a very good point because and that's actually, I'm actually really glad you had brought that up because that's a very important part of the process is that, what are you passionate about? And sometimes it's just the role you have in the actual business itself.
For sure.
Maybe you're not, so maybe you're out there networking more than you're actually in the, so maybe you're out there networking more than you're a lot more present. And that passion is really coming through. So that is very important. Now, Marcus talks about, what is it? Process people, product. Is it process people, product?
Well, I'm gonna have to Google it.
You had three different
three P's too. You're right. Yeah,
I think it was process, people, product. If I'm not mistaken, and yours was, what were your 3 P's?
Okay, so people, process, and product.
People, process, product. Yep.
Thank you, Google. Ours are passion, process, and profit.
Okay. So,
and obviously we're here at the summit, so we have the people, right? But a big theme is growing teams and empowering your general manager and really teaching people, yes, the TBK way, but how to be better bosses, how to be better leaders, how to be better, in your field and your industry. And I tell all of our franchise owners this, which is exciting. Hopefully every year you're running the biggest business that you've ever run. It's definitely been the case for me. And that comes with learning new skills and, being prepared for the challenges ahead in a good way.
And this is, by the way, for everyone listening in, getting to speak with Jessi. These are, when someone says, what are the advantages of a franchise? We talk about sometimes, okay, specifically the economies of scale and finding your location, and that's all important. But what about the big picture stuff, right? It's growing. It's growing the value, enterprise building. What are you trying to create? And maybe it's that legacy that you could pass down to the family. What happens when you're stuck, or maybe the margins aren't where they should be, or you're having issues with retaining employees. These are all the things that a franchisor can support you with and assist you. I always say, if you have issues, that franchisor, yes, they have figured out, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. That doesn't mean you won't have. Maybe you make a poor hire. Maybe it just wasn't your fault. It just something happened in that person's life. What to do in that situation, and that's the advantage of a good, or I should say, a great franchise company. And by the way, not all franchises are built the same, but it's a company that has that great culture and the support system. And you'll learn that directly from someone like yourself, talking to a founder, but also talking to franchisees and getting a good feel on their culture, on the support that they're getting. This is, again, a long-term relationship. So you want to do that research and really connect and understand, where is the brand going? How does the brand support me? And these are all crucial aspects and crucial parts of the due diligence process. And this has been super helpful. And I sometimes I forget to ask questions. So that passion piece was huge. And I'm glad we snuck that in. I wish it was sooner, but that was, I'm really glad you brought that up. So again, website for anyone that wants to check out your company.
TasteBudsKitchen.com. And there's a franchise page to learn about franchising and all of our other where we are, states, cities, and actually class calendars to sign up for a summer camp, although that season's just ending in the fall. It's birthday parties, corporate events, adult classes, all the way down to our, I have 4-year-old twins, my other fun fact, boy, girl, but we have little, 2 to 8-year-olds. They're learning about ingredients and textures and colors and literally making everything from scratch. A taste bud that's always from scratch, so that you can have a lot of fun doing it, whether you're interested in opening your own or not. Just experience it and having a fun memory for your family.
Awesome. This is great. I really, really, really appreciate you coming on the show. Now you're busy there with the family and the business, but it sounds like everything is going well. Really impressed with the franchise model, and looking forward. Maybe when we have you back on, we'll help with those stats. And now people are going to be overly educated on business and franchise ownership to make that decision a lot easier. So thanks again. I really appreciate your time, and looking forward to our next call.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to learn how to make the transition from corporate to owning your franchise, join Giuseppe on the next episode. You can also follow on all social media platforms and achieve financial and time freedom today.